Evening, gentlemen. I want to say a little bit about Christ at Christmas, and not, as it were, in a Christian sense, more in a way that I can apply and relate it to myself, or rather, the self. In reality, there probably isn't a myself. The self, James Robinson, being part of the monad, a cell in the body of the universe, or even in existence at all, is a reflection of divine consciousness. Divine consciousness that isn't just material. Why I'm speaking like this is because I think Kiwis have forgotten that art, intelligence, creativity, and feelings are part of a higher order of our own potential. And within potential, all existence resides in the womb of the absolute nothing. In potential. So what differentiates chaos is not a military, economic, academic, hierarchical censorship culture, a perpetual war of problem, reaction, solution engineered by pharaonic entities or systems farmed in algorithmic AI plantations of half-life humans. No, the Christ I speak of isn't a Middle Eastern man, even, because I think the anointed, the transmission, the sending and the receiving of divine consciousness, it's an internal alchemy. The anointing may have been a concoction on the body of initiates, a CBD oil, or a soma, or a frankincense or a myrrh, or any of these plant ethnogens of the ancient world as a form of technology. And I'm assuming that you know that Christ means anointed one. These oils of the ancient world were prized more than gold. They were essences of the plant world, of an intelligence of our ancestors that is a relationship between culture and nature, the undifferentiated mind where we did not separate and mythologize ourselves outside of nature's rhythm. In the Sophianic tradition, which is to say a pagan pre-Roman Gnostic tradition, Sophia, the Aeon, was mad with her pregnancy, with her chaos on the planet. As a living goddess from another dimension, she was unstable and started to consume her children, the species perhaps, the ecologies on the planet. In their idea of the Christ, Christos, and these words do have an etymology that I can't quite remember at the moment, but another aeon, that is to say, an energy stream from the center of the galaxy stabilized the material form of this living consciousness we call Earth. So this Christ energy also infused and helped to create the anthropos, that is to say, the template of human beings, man. I think it's an interesting mythology that a higher consciousness would help to stabilize a wild world. There are other notions, of course, around the moon being driven into orbit to stabilize the planet as well. These are speculative and serious concerns. I want to tie the idea of Christ, in any sense that matters to you, to this idea of eternal being, with the idea of a developmental potential to overcome the suffering, the pain, the banality, and the petty rivalry of human social order, of families, of who's in control. This idea of all of us being in communion with our hearts and a sense of personal responsibility to the greater forces that have brought us here as spirit. Because we're not just a social construct, we're not just a material construct, we are not just an input device for software, story, narrative, language. No. Why art is a sacred endeavour is it's a form of unpacking, unstripping, of unlearning to a primeval sense of self. This creation that we engage in, this mirror neuron with the universe itself, is like experiencing the self as the universe. You don't need to be a billionaire oligarch to pretend to be a god. You only have to be aware of your own agency as an intelligence, as an aspect of Christ. I'm a student in these narratives. I don't think I'd regard myself as a Christian, and yet I do understand the traditionalist and orthodox and mystic ends of a Christian experience. Ultimately, I see it as a little bit of a Roman form of propaganda and subjugation via Jew propaganda spiel for mass mind control, and also a technological and currency divination system of power. The Christ I speak of is one of the natural world, the Davic world. It's one that would be recognized by Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, Sufism, and Gaelic and Celtic lore, perhaps. A universal. And at this time, Christmas, a usurped solstice event, essentially, it is good to remember that the planet itself has a memory, and that we are expressions of not a synthetic layer embedded in a reductionist, materialist, satanic paradigm of a plantation war farm, that we are nodes of cosmic, interconnected emanations of the source of all life, and that the blessing of being aware of these things is enough to acknowledge the divine within each and every one of us. These are some of my thoughts and blessings for the season, regardless of your abject family situation, inclusion or non-inclusion of your society or neighborhood or family. May you be humbled to know the true self. James Robinson, New Zealand artist. Thank you very much.